Oshidori. It's a Japanese story. Oshidori. Tori. Tori is a bird. Oshidori means mandarin ducks. Okay? It's about 2 mandarin ducks. Okay. A long time ago, I don't know when, but many, many years ago, well, let's say 500 years ago, there was a man, Japanese man, and his name was Sonjo. His name was Sonjo. Sonjo was a hunter. He was a hunter, but he was a hunter with a bow and arrow. Okay, bow and arrow. Bow and arrow. Bow, this is a bow, and this is arrow. Okay, this is an arrow. And this is a bow, and this is arrow. Now, Sonjo was a hunter with a bow and arrow, and he is not just a regular hunter, but he was a falconer. Falconer is a hunter who uses a hawk. It's not an eagle, but it's a big bird. He hunts with a hawk, okay? He also hunts with bow and arrow, but he also hunts. He does hunting with a bird, with a hawk. And the man's called falconer. Okay, Sonjo one day went hunting. He didn't have a bird that day. He just went hunting. He was a falconer, but that day he didn't have a bird. He just went hunting. But that day he was not very lucky, and he could not find any wild animals. He could not find any wild animals. I don't know what he was looking for, but he could not find any wild animals. He could not find any game. Game means wild animals. Just a second. My cat wanted to go outside. Anyway, so Sonjo could not find any game. Now, he was coming home, and because he couldn't find any wild animals, and he was very hungry, and he came to a river. Okay, he came to a river, and he was walking, and he was going to go. I don't know. This doesn't look very good, but this is the bridge. Okay, so he was going to go over the bridge, go across the river. He wanted to cross the river. He wanted to cross the river, and when he was about to cross the river, he saw 2 birds. Were swimming in the river. Well, those 2 were mandarin ducks. And it is not a good idea when you see mandarin ducks together, boy and a girl, man and woman, male and female. male is a boy and female is a girl. When you see a couple, a couple, when you see a couple of mandarin ducks, it is not a good idea to kill a bird. But Sonjo came here and he was hungry. And so he took his bow and arrow and he shot the arrow. The arrow pierce means go through, okay? The arrow pierced the male duck. And the female duck escaped to, there were grass, the green grass. Grass was growing in the river, and they were tall grass. It's called rushes. Okay, so the female mandarin duck escaped into the rushes. Now, Sonjo took the male dead bird and he took it home, he cooked it, and he ate it. Now, that night, Sonjo were sleeping. He was sleeping. And then, during the night, when he was sleeping, a woman came in. And she stood. She didn't sit down. She was standing. She stood by her, this is a pillow, okay? So by her pillow, she stood by his pillow. She stood by his pillow and she began to talk. This woman began to cry. She began to weep. Weep means shed tears, cry with tears. She began to cry. And she cried so bitterly. I think I've told about this before. Bitterly means so sad, so painful. She's sad and painful and grieving and suffering and just not very good, unhappy. So she cried, she wept. She wept so bitterly. Sonjo, it was a dream, Sonjo felt like his heart was breaking. He was so sad because the woman cried so sadly, wept bitterly. And then the woman began to talk. And she said, "Do you know what you have done? You are so cruel." She said, "What has he done to you? Has he done anything wrong to you? Was he guilty of something? Why did you have to kill him?" she said. And then she cried. She said, after the sunset, after the sun went down, it was getting dark. In the twilight means when the sun goes down and it's very, not really dark, but it's still, there is some light, but it's not very bright. It's a dim light, okay? So she said, when it was getting dark, in the evening, in the twilight, she said twilight. Twilight is a dim light, not dark, not light. It's very vague light. She said, in the twilight, after the sunset, she said, I invited my husband to come home with me to go to sleep. But now, because you killed him, I had to sleep alone last night, in the rushes. It was so sad and it was so lonesome. I was so lonely. Unspeakable. It's beyond explanation. I cannot explain how sad I was. That's what the woman said. She said, I invited him, but he was dead. You killed him. So I had to spend the night, and I am so sad, she said. Okay? She said, you killed him. I cannot live without my husband. She said, you killed me too. Because you killed him, you killed me also, she said. And then she said, come tomorrow to the river. Come to the river tomorrow. You will see. You will see. And then, boom, she disappeared. Sonjo, the next morning, he woke up and he thought, what was that? I still remember vividly means clearly. I still clearly remember what I dreamed about. What was it about? He was very, very worried. He couldn't go about, he couldn't forget about this dream. He was very, very troubled. He was very troubled because the dream was so clear and the woman cried so much, so bitterly, and his heart was broken. He felt so sad himself. And so he decided to go back to the river to find out whether the dream was a true dream or it was just a dream. Okay? And so he went back to the river. Okay? And I don't know how to draw the bridge, but okay, just let's not write a bridge. So he came to the river. He came. And he was looking at the river, and then sure enough, there was this mandarin duck swimming in the river. It was the female mandarin duck. When the mandarin duck she saw Sonjo, perceive means notice. When the bird noticed Sonjo, the bird did not escape, but the bird came straight forward. The bird came to him. While the bird was coming closer and closer, the bird was looking at Sonjo's eyes straight in a strange way. the bird was looking at Sonjo. And when she came very close to the man, the bird, this bird, this bird had a very sharp beak. This is a beak. Okay? The bird's mouth is called a beak. This is a beak. The female bird suddenly hit her body with its beak. Dum. And she tore her body open and she died. She killed herself. Sonjo saw this and he thought, oh my goodness. He was so sorry that he gave so much pain to the female bird. He went to the temple. Okay? He went to the temple right away and he shaved his head. He shaved no hair. He shaved his head and he became a priest. He became a priest. The end.